werewolves. G'day to all you lovely people and welcome back to my channel. I'm Kathy and today I wanted to talk about this. Full Moon, the second book in the Dresden Files by Jim Butcher. I have already reviewed the first book in the series, Stormfront, and if you haven't seen that video, I'll link it somewhere up here and I'll also put it in my description box below. But today I wanted to talk about Full Moon. This book, just like the first, is written in the first person. We view the world through Harry Dresden's eyes. He is a private investigator in Chicago, modern day Chicago, who also happens to be a wizard. This book, like the first, is also a murder mystery, and we start off with a murder scene where the victim seems to have been attacked by an animal, possibly a wolf. And if you're thinking werewolves, you are right. Except that in this book, there seems to be several different species of werewolves, which I found really interesting actually. As is to be expected, Harry investigates this murder and several others, trying to locate who is actually to blame for these murders. That is all you really need to know about the plot. I've already said that I'm not a fan of murder mysteries. However, I have become a huge fan of Harry Dresden. I actually do find the mysteries interesting, compelling. I want to know what happened, and I'm really enjoying reading these books. I find I cannot put them down, and in fact, I read this in one night. That's how much I enjoyed it. Now, just like the first book, the pacing in this is fast. The writing is just as good, if not better. In some respects, I found Harry even funnier in this book. But as I said, I don't think the humour is overdone. I think there is just enough to make it an enjoyable read as well as an interesting read. Several characters in this book we have already met in the first. People like Murphy and Susan and Bob the Skull. I'm calling him a character. And I do feel that the author explored their characters further, gave us more insight into who they were, except perhaps Susan. I still feel that she is quite a mystery. I don't really know whether she's genuine, whether she isn't. I don't know if she is simply using Harry or genuinely cares about him. I think out of all the secondary characters, she is probably the most superficially drawn, and I'd like to know a little bit more about her. There are several new characters that are introduced. One I really liked was Tara. I thought she was very well drawn, actually, better even than Susan. I got a much better grasp of the kind of person she was. I knew that she was unflinching and brave and loyal and blunt. I thought she was an interesting character. I don't know if she appears in future books. I'll be very interested to find out. The other character I really liked, and not everyone will, I'm sure, is Marconi. He and Harry's interactions are gold. I just love the banter, not even banter between them. The undertones are so thick and heavy, and I got a feeling that even though Harry despises him for what he is, part of him does like him, doesn't trust him, but likes him in a way. I don't know. And Harry himself really did surprise me at times in this book. I hadn't realized just how honorable a character he is. Particularly near the beginning, there is a scene with Marconi that surprised me. I expected Harry to perhaps take the easy road, and he clearly won't, in a sense that just underscored that he is a hero. With respect to the plot, I thought it was a little more complicated in this one than the first book. That one was easier to predict than this one was. Not that you can't predict anything, but I just found that there was a lot more convoluted twists and turns. There was a lot more characters that I wasn't sure who was a good guy, who was a bad guy. That made it really interesting for me. I flew through it. In fact, I couldn't put it down. I stayed up and read the whole thing because I needed to know what happened. And I really, really liked the ending. Much more than I liked the first one. In my opinion, I felt that this was slightly different to the first book. I felt the writing was a little bit sharper. I thought Harry was just as funny, if not funnier, in this one, except that there was so much going on that in a way it was darker in tone. Now I wanted to talk about what I liked and what I didn't like. Let's start with what I didn't like. There is a scene where something happens to Harry which I didn't understand why he wasn't just killed. Well, I know why he wasn't killed because he's our main character, but that kind of bothered me. It didn't seem believable. However, it's a minor criticism. Another criticism I have is that the wolf pups in the book seemed superfluous. They really did. I didn't think there was much use for them. I didn't get a great grasp of who they were. And the other thing I didn't like, not enough Bob. I want more Bob. I find Bob hilarious. I definitely want to know a lot more about him. And the last thing I wanted to mention that I didn't really like is the chauvinism that Harry portrays. It isn't excessive. It's not like he has a low opinion of women. No, it is simply that he views women as needing rescuing. And yet he recognizes that that is who he is, that he has this wide chivalrous streak that makes him want to rescue women all the time. I can accept that because that is part of his character. That is a flaw in his character. If the women in the book were portrayed as helpless, as needing help, as not being capable, then it would have really bothered me. But that is not what happens in this book. The women are capable, they're strong, they're intelligent. As long as it isn't perceiving women as weak or objects, I'm a little bit more accepting of that kind of chauvinism. There is, however, a scene with Tara that I'm sure if any woman has read it will know exactly which one I'm talking about. That one kind of irritated me a little, but also made me laugh. Yeah, Harry makes me laugh because he does get distracted by women, no doubts about it. Okay, so what did I like about the book? So many things. I really enjoyed this one. I felt that this one was even better than the first. I felt I learned a lot more about Harry, about the kind of person he is. I never realized just how principled and honorable he is. I knew he was honorable, but I didn't realize just how much integrity he had. That really appealed to me. I also loved that he sometimes thought outside the box. He didn't always rely on his magic to get him out of situations. And in this book, he really surprised me at the end. I hadn't expected what he did, and I thought that was really clever. In this one, we are shown that even when his magic fails him, Harry is still a very resourceful and intelligent and clever man who can find ways around it. Because it's all very well having a character who is magically powerful, but that is a talent, a gift he has. What I also want to see is intelligence. I want to see how they would do without that magic. And I felt that we got a glimpse of that in this book, so that really appealed to me. I did feel I learnt more about Harry, about his history as a wizard, what has happened to him in the past. We still haven't been given a lot of information, but that's okay. As long as we get more and more in each subsequent book, I'll be happy. And I did feel that I saw Harry's character develop. I also liked seeing Harry's relationships with people explored, developed. They're dynamic, like real relationships. Sometimes things go sour, sometimes they improve. That I did enjoy as well. I also really liked the author's take on werewolves. I felt that it was fresh, it was different to anything else I have read or seen. I felt that the villain or villains, because I don't want to give away any spoilers, are better developed. I had a much better grasp of how powerful or dangerous they were, and that made the ending a lot more tense because I wasn't sure how Harry was going to get out of it. There were some surprise deaths earlier in the book that I thought, I don't know now who is going to survive and who isn't. It made it more suspenseful, and I loved that. Full Moon, I found a little harder to predict than the first book, and that part I really enjoyed as well. If an author can keep me guessing, that holds my interest. It makes me want to finish the book. And really, they're written so well and so easy to read that you can just fly through them. Well, I did anyway. So, would I recommend Full Moon? Definitely. Particularly if you like Harry and his dry and self-deprecating humour, because that is just as evident in this book. If you like murder mysteries, if you like a sense of hard-boiled detectives, because Harry is one tough character, I must admit, and you like an original take on werewolves, then I think you'll enjoy this. I definitely did. For a score, I score between 1 and 10, and I must admit this one has been a little bit difficult to score. I want to be a bit fairer, a bit more generous than I have been, and I feel that this is probably a 6.5 to 7. And yet I feel that's probably been too generous. Let me know if you have read Full Moon and what your opinion is of it. Do you like it? Do you dislike it? You know, I would love to hear your opinions, and I'd love to discuss it further with you guys. Well, thank you all very much for hanging out with me. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, you can do the usual. You can like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. I hope you all have a beautiful day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.